Hey Matt, thank you very much for coming on the Driven by Data Beauty and Retail series. We're really excited to have you and kind of chat through some of the exciting things that you've been through whilst being a leader in this industry.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. It's really excited. I'm really excited to be talking to you today.
Should we start off by kind of set the scene for me? What does a day look like for a kind of data leader in the retail industry?
Yeah, and this is probably one of my favorite things about the role, is that no day is really the same. There's a
Yeah,
lot of variation depending on what you're doing, but I generally will split a day into quarters. One quarter is, immersing myself, in the business, understanding what's happening,
yeah,
primarily looking for exceptions. So where are numbers looking off from where they should be, from the prior day, and then looking at the longer term trends. A quarter of it is working with the data team, so being a leader, a coach,
yeah,
ensuring that everybody is not only focused on the right things, but they have the resources that they need in order to do their job. Roughly a quarter is stakeholder management. Understanding what is happening throughout the organization, what types of projects we're working on, making sure that information is flowing properly, making sure that everybody has the information that they need in order to make decisions. And then the
yeah,
last quarter is really, focusing on technology and infrastructure. Do we have problems inside of our data pipelines? Is the data coming out reliable? Thinking about longer term projects such as building out data platforms, talking with technology vendors. And so it's really varied. And of
yeah,
course, from day to day, those things will fluctuate. Some days, we'll spend all day with some type of exception.
yeah,
Sales dropped 85% overnight. And we've got to go and diagnose that and figure it out. And sometimes
yeah,
that turns into a technology problem. Sometimes it turns into a business problem. But it's really about understanding where you're going. I think one of the most important things that a leader can do is really be focused on what those exceptions are, especially if you've
yeah,
hired a great team. The team can focus on the day to day while the leader is trying to figure out, what actions do I need to take to make sure that the boat stays on course?
yeah, of course. At least every day, I can imagine every day is incredibly busy though.
Mhm. Yeah, that is for sure.
Yeah, and obviously you've worked for some of the biggest brands, kind of globally. What are the exciting ways that you've used data in your career?
hmm Yeah, so I think probably the most exciting thing for me, number one, would be understanding the voice of the customer.
Yeah,
What is the customer trying to tell us? And that comes in through a couple different streams of information. One of them is NPS data or customer survey data. Some companies use NPS. I've primarily used NPS throughout my experience. I always like to read the comments with NPS because you can really pick up the context of what the numbers are trying to tell you. And then looking at other transactional information such as return rates, such as customer service interactions. I
yeah,
think that's probably the most exciting thing that I've done with data throughout my career. Or one of the things that just gets me the most excited is because you can hear directly what your customers are saying, and you can use that to inform strategy.
yeah,
Another area that's really exciting is personalization and
mm,
really getting into a much better e-commerce situation by using personalization. So, it could be little things like, how do you order elements on the page? How do you
yeah,
change the order of the tabs across the top of the site that makes them more relevant for your customer? And then how can you use data to, reorder the grid so that the product that they're most likely to buy is in that upper left-hand corner, the very first thing that their eye is going to see. And so they don't have to go bouncing all around the site to find the things that they're most likely to buy. I think those are two really exciting ways of using data, especially in a retail e-commerce experience. I'd say the other thing is, and the third thing is about getting more efficient with your operations by using data. So
Yeah.
if you're in store environment, understanding conversion, traffic flows, matching that up with staffing levels. On the e-commerce side,
Yeah.
it tends to be more of marketing optimization.
Mhm.
But all of that will feed into a healthier bottom line for the organization.
Yeah, no, 100%, I agree. And in terms of how do you kind of go about building a successful data science and kind of AI team to kind of meet the goals that business is looking for?
Yeah, and so for me, I try and find really, really great talent.
Yeah.
When you can hire a few A players onto your team,
Hmm.
they can really get a whole lot of stuff done very quickly. And that's what it's all about. And so it's about, finding the right talent, making sure that they have the right data in place, and then
Yeah.
looking for areas that you can get some success, showing value to the organization really quickly
Hmm.
is a really great way of earning the right to grow your organization and build it out,
Yeah.
and therefore give more back to the organization. It just kind of creates a flywheel,
Yeah.
but it's really about focusing on value delivery.
Yeah. And I know we've spoken before about why kind of 85% of obviously data science projects fail. Why do you think that is?
Mhm. Yeah, and so I did a really great podcast with Martin last week
Yep.
about this. So that's going to be coming out soon. We spent a whole
Exciting.
half hour on this topic. But I think one of the reasons so many projects fail isn't really because of the technology. Sometimes it's because we have a hard time getting the data.
Yeah.
But really, it's about working with people out in the business to develop solutions that are solving real world problems that they're facing. Sometimes we're so focused on reporting that we're not focused on creating that value through some type
Yeah.
of innovative solution. And
Yeah.
I think it's about being partners, being co-developers, and the tighter you can integrate your data teams with your business teams, the more likely you are to get success and create value with data.
Do you think it's mostly around kind of the difficulty of showing, so it's the difficulty of showing the value that those data science projects kind of have to maybe senior stakeholders?
I don't think it's about showing the value. I think it's about making sure that you're building something that's going to get
Yeah.
used. So, for instance, if you ask me to build out, let's say, my favorite example is a forecasting model, and I
Yeah.
go off and work for 3 months on a forecasting model, and I bring it back to you. You don't know how I built it, what I've included in there, and really, I should have sat next to you for those 3 months
Yeah.
while we're building this thing out together. I bring the data science magic and you bring the business magic. You put
Yeah.
those two things together, and you're really starting to, build out valuable solutions as opposed to technical solutions in search of a problem sometimes.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, obviously we touched on talent a little bit. How do you think culture kind of impacts the way that brands are attracting new data science talent?
Mm. Yeah. So again, really great question. It comes down to the type of work that data teams are going to be doing, and I think that teams that are able to offer talent more creative tasks that are not just creating the same reporting week after week after week are really going to be able to get better talent because data science is really a creative endeavor. We've got the term science in there, but it's really
Yeah.
art and science together. And being able to work on problems that are facing the organization to be a part of the solution and really drive things forward, I think is how you attract really great talent. The other part of that is making sure that they have the right tools and data in place in order to be able to do their jobs.
Yeah.
So another reason so many projects fail is because sometimes we have a hard time getting data out of systems, especially for legacy companies that aren't using everything cloud-based, SaaS off the shelf. Those are a lot easier to work with. The harder it is to get at the data you're trying to get at, the harder the project is going to be,
Yeah.
which I think kind of makes intuitive sense. But environments where you're able to kind of clear that path for your data scientists, make much more productive teams, and therefore, success breeds success. And you can really attract really great talent because they're working on really great stuff instead of, hacking through the systems trying to get basic data.
Yeah. No, I can get that. And what do you kind of think are the biggest challenges that are facing the retail industry in the next few years in terms of data?
Yeah, so I think part of it is kind of this transition from legacy systems onto more modern systems. I think that's going to be a continued challenge and something that's going to require investment. And that investment is coming at a challenging time for the economics of retailers and e-commerce companies. Just given what's happening out in the world, everybody's driving towards profitability, which means you're not always investing I should say, driving towards short-term profitability, which means you're not always investing in what the future is going to look like. That bill is going to come due one day. And you're going to have to, invest and modernize all of these different retail systems. I think another big challenge is for those who are investing in the space, the proliferation of all the different tools and platforms that are available, and how you stitch all of these things together to create a singular, coherent view of your business. And that can be tough as tools start to specialize. You have to be really skilled at sticking all of that data together and being able to connect the dots across all of them to tell the story.
Of course. And obviously, we don't want to kind of leave this on a bad note. So what are kind of the exciting opportunities that are coming with data in the retail section in the next few years?
Yeah, so, I would say, basically everything that I just said is also very exciting because we are definitely in a world where we've got so many new tools that are being built that allow us to solve problems. So, things like using cameras to understand flow through stores, where, 5 or 6 years ago, that was a lot more difficult to do, to understand traffic patterns, to understand, what people are looking at, how should we design stores more efficiently. I think that there is a lot of great talent that is being developed right now. And that will make, it's going to help drive success inside of data, inside of retailers, because the talent's advancing. I think AI is going to be a big game changer in a couple
100%.
different ways. One from a customer service perspective, but also from a customer experience perspective. So being able to try on different things in the dressing room without being able to try it on. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, and all of a sudden you see a shirt pop up. And hey,
it's going to be weird.
These pants that you're wearing. And I think we're going to see a lot more cool, innovative technology like that. And then driving back towards more efficient operations. So understanding customer preferences better, understanding how to forecast and plan and buy better. So you don't have so much inventory on the shelf at the end of the season that you then have to mark down and sell it for a lower margin.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Matt. It's been really lovely chatting with you. And everyone go check out the podcast with Martin.
All right. Thank you so much, Emily.
That's okay.